Welcome to the Underdog Report. The Underdog Report every week on joehoff.com. That's joehoff.com. Current events from a Christian perspective. And you can go to the underdogreport.com and you can see all of the articles we have here. We have about 44 articles. The last one was The Awakening of a Hollywood Liberal. Don't Let Hate Rule. Someone who was in the movie business, in the TV business, locked in for years and suddenly woke up. But I want to talk about something today. I'm so excited that I have a firebrand, Cara Castronouva, a fellow Italian here on this scene, on the interview with me. And she was a professional boxer, a fitness trainer, an activist, media personality. She writes for NewMax. She does interviews with them. I'm going to show you a video. She's been on The Biggest Loser. She is a one-time Golden Glove champion. She's into self-defense, so don't get her mad. And here I am. I'm Gary. Welcome. And she's a spokesperson for many different companies, Puma, Sporting Goods. She has a master's certificate in sports science. She's very intelligent, but she is also a Christian, a believer, and she was on the January 6th movie, which was just amazing. And there's just so much that she's done. And we just need people like this in America. And I'm just so happy that I can just welcome to the Underdog Report, Cara Castronouva. Cara, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, I'm so excited. We're going to talk about something specific because I don't know if you know, I was just in the news personally. I ran with the Olympic torch in 1984. And I took the Olympic torch to my running store and we had an event there and I made it on the news. So I'm very interested in the Olympics. And there's something interesting going on in the Olympics that you wanted to talk about. And that is you're a boxer, you were a Golden Glove boxer. You want to talk about what's going on with boxing in the Olympics, right?
Right. I do. I know, I stopped following it yesterday officially because I just can't stomach watching, women's boxing at the Olympics, which obviously I was a huge fan of. I was a female boxer. Not only that, I was a referee and a judge for the sanctioning body that oversees Olympic boxing here in the US. So I know a lot of the rules and I know how important boxer safety is. It's really the most important thing. And your main job as an official is to keep the boxers safe. That's why it's completely mind-boggling to me that colleagues of mine, people that I know that are in USA Boxing and other boxing sanctioning bodies haven't been speaking out on behalf of these women because they're afraid of getting canceled. So, women's sports is over as far as I know it. Right now, there's two questionable individuals in the Olympics. I believe today they're fighting in the finals. I mean, big surprise, the two people with XY chromosomes, which means you're a biological male, they were tested and they tested for XY chromosomes, but they're still being allowed to fight as women because it says woman on their passport, according to the Paris Boxing Unit, the woke Paris Boxing Unit. So
you're a boxer, so I want to ask you a question about this. I don't know if you ever boxed a man, but pound for pound, a woman, you're the same weight as you or some other woman versus a man. Is there really that much of a difference?
It's like apples and oranges, night and day. Of course, I've boxed men, but they weren't hitting me with full power. Even in New York, where there are a lot of female boxers, when I was boxing years ago, there were really not many. So to get sparring, you go out and you find it with guys that are your size. And obviously, these guys know that to hit you with 50%, even less power, or they could literally kill you in the gym. And if a man hits you with full power, he'll be looked at like he's just a complete jerk by the gym. Everybody will be like, what a bully. Like, it's actually very much frowned upon. They're there to work on their defense and you're working on your offense. So, the few times I was hit by a guy flush was either when I walked into a punch and he didn't mean to, because I myself walked in, and that teaches you a lesson very quickly. Or if it was an unexperienced guy who didn't know how to hold back his power, that's very dangerous. And I remember one time I got hit by a guy and I literally saw black, which is worse than seeing stars. Seeing stars means you're okay. Seeing black means you're really not okay. You see like a black patch in your head. And my trainer told me my hand hit the ground. I jumped back up. I don't even remember doing this because it was like a flash knockdown, but I saw black. So that's what happens when you get hit by a
So
guy. And
there's a real difference. So the
that was
men are
one
men.
shot. That was
Yeah.
one shot. And the guy wasn't even that good. I mean, he was like, not that technically skilled. He was just a guy. Guys have testosterone. When you go through male puberty, it literally changes your brain wiring. I've done a lot of research on this. To back up what I say, but your brain wiring is changed. You're quicker, your bones are thicker, you actually have a thicker skull, so you don't get as much damage when you get hit in the head. Your wrists are bigger, your fists are bigger, your lungs are and your heart are bigger. Everything else there is, I mean, besides the obvious fact that you're stronger, should make it just common sense to anybody that you should test these new athletes, this next generation of athletes, the 20-year-olds nowadays. You don't know if there's going to be someone who slips in now that says they're a woman. They don't even say they're trans anymore. They just say, I was born a female. You know, these people need to be tested. There needs to be, I feel, uniform testing throughout the Olympics for all sports, so they can't say it's discriminatory. Gender testing, which they stopped doing at the Olympics. There's no more gender testing at the Olympics. Basically, in Paris this year, they said, if your passport says you're a female, which in New York, you could get a passport or your driver's license changed to whatever sex you want, or anywhere for that matter, you can fight as a female. That means you're a female. And they're refusing to do gender testing. And the boxing organization that did do gender testing show that these two people have XY chromosomes. So they're going around just like toying with the women in the ring, winning tournaments. Now they're going to be two Olympic champions with XY chromosomes from the female weight class. And it's really pathetic. And I'm just
So if they're successful at doing this, Cara, won't they do this in every sport? Won't it shouldn't be running and shot putting and
right.
what?
They are doing it in every sport, but it's disgusting. Women's boxing, female sports are over. It's more dangerous, obviously, in boxing because you're not hitting balls, you're hitting heads, and people could die. And wrestling also, I believe that they're doing it in wrestling. And so I think that if women don't get their, act together and come together and say we're not doing this anymore, we're feminists. We believe in the women's rights and the women's movement. Like I thought I was a feminist, and now all of a sudden, people look at me like, oh, you don't stand up for females that are biological men, so you're not a feminist. No, I'm a
I
feminist.
don't understand that because
It's
this is
insanity. It's
isn't this
insane.
this is ruining female sports. It's ruining because it's knocking women out who worked very hard to get a medal, to get a place, and a man's taking their place. Eventually, there's not going to be any women's sports, and it's going to discourage many women from getting into sports. I don't know why females are supporting this.
It's because a lot of the females in this generation, I find sadly, like, these Olympians, they're young kids, they're in their early 20s or less. This is something that they were brought up with. They're brainwashed, they're indoctrinated, they're afraid to speak out. They innately know it's unfair, but since they were brought into this society with all this craziness, it's like they're really terrified to speak out. It's very revolutionary for a 20-year-old to say, you know what, this is unfair. Like a 40-year-old, a 35-year-old, fine, because we remember a time when things were fair. But that's all these kids know. And you got
Wow.
female athletes like the one, Angela Carini from Italy, who had fought this biological male, and she apologized for the things she said later. She kowtowed. She was bullied by the media, bullied by the Olympic Committee, probably afraid they wouldn't let her fight and sanction her again. So she said, "Oh, I'm sorry that, I reacted that way," even though she reacted in the right way when she stopped that fight and she just was like, "I'm not doing this." That was the right reaction. But, they bullied her into apologizing, and I feel bad for her and any other female boxer in the present day that has to deal with this nonsense.
Well, that's what's going on in the Olympics, and from a Christian perspective, and I know you're a Christian also. God created male and female, so and within our genes, which can't be changed, no matter how much testosterone you take, you're still a female. You're still born a female, or you're born a male.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's not being recognized as it should. But Christians honor women. We honor women for what they are. And I think we should continue to do that and welcome them in sports. I think women in sports are fantastic. They're doing better and better in running, in wrestling, in every area. And I just encourage women to continue to do that. I do want to get into something else, Cara, if you don't mind. You're a reporter for NewsMax, correct?
Yes.
You do so much. I don't know how you do
I
it.
know I need to take a trip and a vacation, but I do. I report for Newsmax and I write for the Gateway Pundit, two really great organizations, obviously.
Well, that's why I met you the second time. We were at the RNC. I met you there. You have a short video. You said you didn't want to, you didn't mind us sharing.
No, yeah, no, it was a NewsMax video that I just did. I went out to the Bronx, which everybody knows me for because I know how to go into different areas and I could talk to just about anybody. So it's like, something that I think I'm good at. And
Well, let's watch it.
yeah, sure.
Has been a big topic since Kamala Harris was tapped to be the Democratic nominee for president.
Correspondent Cara Castronouva asked voters what they have to think about that. Here's that report.
The latest polls show that Vice President Kamala Harris is gaining ground with some Black and Latino voters. But those very same voters say that things are going badly in an America run by President Biden and VP Harris. And former President Trump is still polling high with Black voters at 20% in the latest, for example. They could be the story of this election. So, are Black and Hispanic voters persuaded by identity politics or actual policies? We hit the streets of the Bronx to find out.
She's using her color. I thought that Martin Luther King said the color wasn't the issue. I thought it was the content of our character that we were supposed to be recognized for. But if she's going to keep running on that color, she's going to have a misconception about how Black people really wrong.
If you bring somebody into office that looks like you, but then continues to detriment your community, what was that for? But if you choose somebody who can raise your community, then you chose the right one.
Wait,
so
who do you choose?
Personally, I choose Trump.
I'm looking for who I think is more qualified to run the country. That's all I'm looking at.
Black Latinos are starting to be a little bit more critical. They're fed up of their hard-earned money going to illegal, undocumented people.
Kamala Harris did not do a good job on the border because from what I know, a lot of people were coming from the other side and doing a lot of bad things to what we call home.
I think she's not a good candidate for president because she's with Joe Biden for the past 2 years, a wreck up in New York,
Colors don't matter, man.
Right, they don't.
Ask God, man.
That's true. So what do you think about a candidate that uses their race as a selling point? Do you think
That's some weird.
That's weird?
You lost already, 2024. If you racist today, you lost. Nobody going against Trump.
It's not about race, it's about what they provide for the society, is what they could do for the community.
With her putting a lot of Black Americans in jail for the marijuana, they're not really going for her.
We also got people's thoughts on Trump's recent comments on Harris's ethnicity.
She was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black.
Yeah, she was Hindu when it suited her purpose, and now that she's running, the Black vote suits her purpose. So, like Trump said, now she's Black.
Donald Trump is absolutely right. Her mother's Indian, her father's Irish Hindu, and she's always presented herself as Indian.
What do you think about Trump saying Kamala Harris is Black? I thought she was Indian. She was saying she was Indian.
That's my response. Trump is an open book, yo. Facts.
That's just Trump being Trump. I don't believe he's racist. I don't even think he has a racist bone in his body.
Trump said that Kamala Harris always portrayed herself to be Indian, and now all of a sudden she's saying she's Black.
Right? Nah, she's really Indian. She just want our support. She's trying to snatch our support away from Trump. But that's not how that's going down.
Reporting for NewsMax in the Bronx, New York, I'm Cara Castronouva.
Cara, that was great. Very interesting. I was born in the Bronx.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
It's a great place. The people are so friendly in the Bronx. It's unbelievable. It's really nice going up there.
I know you're a Christian. I wanted to ask you about that. How does that play into your day-to-day reporting and just being a woman out there who's a very important woman? How does that play to your day-to-day life?
Well, I think as I get older, Christianity has obviously become more important. I think that I went through a phase when I was a teenager when I really became a Christian. When my mom sent me to a Bible camp in Cape Cod. Thank God she sent me there. It really it was called Camp Good News. Oh my God, it was the greatest place on earth, where I met a lot of Christians and counselors who really cared, and I really became a believer. And then, as you go through life, it kind of stagnates. I think that during boxing, I really drew on my religion and my Christianity just to give me strength. And now, then I went through a phase, when you start forgetting you're a Christian and forgetting to pray and forgetting who you are, then life gets harder, I think, in my 30s. But now, some of the hardest stuff I've done in my life really is the reporting stuff, because I'm not reporting, especially a few years ago, on anything that's popular. The right side media, with the exception of the Gateway Pundit, was really against even talking about January 6th. It was like this taboo subject, and so was the vaccine mandates. Like anybody kind of sticking up for January 6ers or saying, vaccines are dangerous, we're getting canceled. So it took a lot of mental strength, I think, especially with the January 6th stuff, because I was terrified of being arrested by the FBI and persecuted like a lot of other journalists. And the FBI did visit my house a few times, which was very scary. And, it made me think to myself, like, oh my God, is this worth it? Maybe I should just stop reporting on this stuff, and I should stop exposing this stuff, because I've exposed a lot of three-letter agencies. I've put out a lot of information that they tried to keep secret on the Gateway Pundit for the past couple of years, especially I'd say about 2 years ago when it was really hot and heavy. And I was terrified, like I said, to be arrested and thrown in jail, and all my stuff, they take it away. They're so sick and mentally ill. And I really had to pray, and I really had to just trust that God was going to take care of me and protect me, and that if that did happen, I would be okay. Even though, it was something that I feared, I knew that I would be okay because I had God on my side. And I really had to have that understanding, or else I wouldn't have been able to do any of that stuff at that time, like I said, which was very scary at the time to do. Even during the lockdowns, I'd say the lockdowns, if anything, it brought me closer to God in 2020, because I was really against them. And I was one of the first people. I did the first rally in Albany, New York, outside of Cuomo's mansion when he was governor. And I was just really scared. I thought that I was going to, I didn't know who I was going to tick off, because nobody was speaking out against it. And I was praying a lot at that time too, and fearful that I would lose friends and family, which I did.
We all do.
Right.
We all do.
So I guess, like, yeah, that this hardship has brought me closer to God, and still does. So, I think I've gotten closer to God by being a reporter, because it's not easy work at all, especially when you're, working for news organizations that are not going with the status quo and not going with the mainstream media narrative. It exposes you for a lot of cancellation and hatred, and people saying negative things about you that you just have to let roll off your back.
Well, God bless you. Just the people, I just want to ask you, just please go to her website, and it's Cara Castronouva.com, and here it is, Castronouva, a nice Italian name. She's part Italian, part Filipino. I started a church in the Philippines, and I just want to thank you so much for joining us. You have so much to talk about. We should have you back again. God bless you. Just join us at UnderDog Report. Every week we're hosted on joehoff.com, and we're just a little subsection of joehoff.com. But God bless you, Cara.
Thank you so much.